Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist, begins now. And welcome to another episode of Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist. My name is Penny L.A. Shepard, and I am Agent X11. I'm joined today by my co-host, Joan Renee, and by the wonderful, magnificent Brian Tseng. and by Dr. Weeping You, Dr. Yu's Universe. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us, both Brian and Dr. Tseng. How are you both? Brian?
Pretty good. I'm getting through it. We're still trying to make this transition to Sedona, and we're fighting with banks for monies because people out there should know that banks are going through difficult times right now. And when you deposit large amounts of money into them and you don't follow certain processes or protocols, they're not necessary, but sometimes they're really helpful, and you don't follow them, the banks can come up with whatever reason they want to hold your money. Yes. And so we're running into that, but we're working through it.
And also you are fighting some individuals that we both know who are posting Shiite. But both of those people I have blocked like a long time ago.
Yeah. So this is a phenomenon in our community where there are people who move forward with the effort, and then you have your haters and your trolls. And a good friend of mine, Sarah R. Adams, has had a scam artist, Tajinder Gill, literally steal over $100,000 from her over the years. And now, instead of people, supporting Sarah, they're siding with the scam artist, who, now that Sarah's cut him off from being able to steal so much money from her, he's playing the victim. And there are actually people in the community, only about 1 out of 10. Not even, who side with the scam artist as opposed to the victim.
It happens. And I've actually, they try to ruin your reputation, and there are a lot of those going around. Dr. Yu, I just love your name. How are you, Dr. Yu?
Thank you for having me on. I'm good. So this is the second day of government shutdown. So I will go back after the show, go back to work again.
Yes. We actually had to Google, like, are garbage workers essential workers, and do they work for the government? Because, no one knows.
Well, plus it's a federal shutdown.
Right.
It is. The federal government.
And so then if they work for the state, that's not federal, right?
Right. No, it's only federal, and it looks like the Republican-led Congress under the President Trump, they may be using the shutdown as an opportunity to clean up Washington a bit. Yes. And so there was this recent call of all, I forget what level of rank of military commanders to generals, were all called to, I forget if it's Washington or what region of the
Quantico.
East Coast. It's Quantico. Okay, it's Quantico's at the Virginia, that's at CIA headquarters around there. So, and they basically, Secretary of War, because they changed it to the Department of War, Pete Hegseth, announced no more wokeness, no more transgenderism, no more beards and long hair in the military. They're going to clean all that up and bring it back to fighting standards. But also there are kind of more alternative reports saying that in addition to summoning all of the staff to give that message about changing the military back, detransitioning it, if you will, it was also an opportunity to do cybersecurity. Now you've got all high-ranking military in one place at once. Now you can track all their phones and accumulate all that metadata to analyze. And so that's one report on Real Raw News, and I think that's credible. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yes, I actually had to report on that, and I love what Hegseth had to say, because I've been a fan of his. I know a couple of friends of his, but I've been a fan since the speech, "No more dudes in dresses."
You can't have a functional military.
No,
if you are giving lip service to wokeness and liberal ideologies when you're trying to fight wars and life and death situations. It's not good, and we see that every day in the policing in our streets.
It's humiliating, Brian, to have I mean, what do warring factions in other countries think about, an organization in which the men are parading in dresses in the White House
They
and
love it.
Dick?
They love it. We're undoing. It's the undoing of the West that they predicted and want, and we, the real Americans, have to turn that around.
Well, I'm glad to see that it is happening. No more dudes in dresses. That's one of my mottos these days. I'm the only one because I'm a girl. I'm allowed to wear dresses, and I do. And Stephen, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Yeah, I was a little busy and trying to take care of some health insurance stuff, so I couldn't get off the phone call. So
Okay.
I'm back.
That's all right. You can just join in when you can. We also we have two Brians, Brian with a Y, Sir Brian Bowden, who was on our show today. He said he might join, but maybe not. But all of you are just such prolifically intelligent men, and I am privileged to know you all, as is Joan. And you're not an intelligent man, but you're an intelligent woman. And I just thank you all for joining us. Dr. Yu, where would you like to begin?
Maybe this begin. If you can roll to the first page, I just want to make sure, since Brian may not familiar with. If you go to the first page, second page. Yes, sorry about it. Brian, did you see this page before?
Yeah, I remember we were discussing this 2 weeks ago. The difference between charged and united dipole particles,
Wonderful.
like the muon. Yeah.
Yes, I just want to remind everybody the key discovery is the so-called electron, proton, positron, quarks. These quantum mechanics charged particle should not exist based on the current law, based on the logic and the evidence. Mm-hmm. Okay, so since we all see this page, then I think Penny, you can turn into the other page. You just showed there. This page. I try to use contradiction to existing physical laws to prove this monocharged particle or single charged particle cannot exist. So you guys, you will be the judge. So see if my argument make any sense to you. Okay, I'm gonna try to physically demonstrate. So how, if we have a monocharged, single charged electron, and the physical law, that we're broke up, we're not exist. So this is the most important concept in this discovery. The second important discovery is what is the real particle. So this say, hey, this quantum mechanical particle should not exist. And the next one will be what should be exist. So let me demonstrate why it should not exist. So that's the on the chart. I use this particle represent the electron, and use this one represent a positron, or you can say protons. Okay, I hope you can see. So now let's say I'm gonna use electron. Say why it does not make sense. Okay, assuming J.J. Thomson discovered electron as a negative charge particle is true. So let's assume it's true, and I try to approve them that should not be the case. So assuming this is a negative charge of the electron. So now, since electron, we know electron has a mass, right?
Yes.
Even though current theory say, hey, electrons are point particle, imply they do not have a volume. That's a mathematical description, but should not be taken as a reality. In reality, everything, if you have a mass, you have a matter, of course you should have an occupied volume, right? So I just say, hey, let this ball to be an electron, and hypothetically, if we can split the electron to two halves. The people ask why you have to say hypothetically, because in current quantum mechanics model, they're assuming every single elementary particle has a minimum size, say Planck length. or use based on the Planck constant. You can derive Planck length and even time has a Planck time. The minimum intervals of time, which I do not believe they are necessary. This is all man-made. Because that's another issue I will explain what's wrong with Planck proposed this one. But just say current quantum mechanics model, electron is the smallest rigid particle, cannot be subdivided. So that's why I said, okay, let's assuming this is an electron. I'm not physical divide. Let's do hypothetically divide, because the electron has a mass, right? Let's assuming electrons split to smaller mass, half of a mass. So then what do we get? We get a 2 negative charged particle. In the previous chart, we show 3 cases. One is two negative charged particles. Another, okay, yeah. So another Brian has not come on yet, right? Okay. Okay. I thought, why we have so many people now? Yes.
I'll just bring you back. There you go.
Yes. So the second scenario is split a negative charge particle. You get a 1 negative, 1 positive. That's impossible because that would violate called charge conservation. So you have a one negative charge. Suddenly you split, changing the charge means violate the charge conservation. So that should not be the case. Another scenario is if I split a negative charge particle to become a 2 positive charge, is also violated the charge conservation. So how charge can randomly changing the sign, right, from negative to positive. So leave us only one choice. So you split a negative particle hypothetically, called a mental experiment. So then what happens? You get a 2 piece of a negative charge particle. Now the critical question is, can you recombine them to a original particles? Brian, can you give your take?
Well, I mean, I think if you did half, if you took a fully negative charged particle and you split it in half, theoretically you'd have 2 negative half negative charged particles.
Yeah,
but then if they were theoretically half negative charged particles, because they're both negative, theoretically they would repel, unless there's something in the quantum physics that because they're halves of a whole, they would be attracted to each other. And so this is where I have a big question in my mind. I don't know if you took an electron and split it in half, would it want to reunite, or would it want, once you cut in half, would the 2 halves want to push apart now?
Let's start it now. Can we reunite it? Before we take in quantum some principles, okay? If we can reunite it, violate the Coulomb's law, which we discussed earlier on. Say, hey, Coulomb's law says we have 2 different charges. A like charge repel, opposite charge attract. So since you split the electron, get a 2 negative charge, can you recombine them? Because they are like charge repel. So that means this is violated the fundamental law in static electricity. So that's the Coulomb's law.
I mean, one thing, Dr. Wu, one might argue is that if you split an electron in half, it won't necessarily react to other electrons or half electrons, but it might want to react solely to its mate, to its partner that was split from. And then that might want to re-merge. That would be my guess.
It's a mate.
Yeah, they're mates, right? Because they're mated, they want to come back. Even if they're both negative, they're still mates. So that might overcome. Yeah.
Overcome what?
Overcome the separation. They want to reunite.
So now we already have a like charge repel.
Right.
What things can overcome their separation? We are induced no.
Well, Doctor, how about this? So experimentally, when that experiment is performed, what does happen? And let's see if we can explain it from there. What is the effect when you split the electrons in half? What happens?
So he wanted to know, go there. You know what happens in real experiment? There is no such particle called a negative charge particle.
Okay, so they can't cut it in half. In real experience, they're unable to cut the electron in half still.
Oh, if it's negative, the so-called electron in real life, it's a magnet.
Because it's a magnetic wave.
When you cut a magnet into pieces, you form two smaller magnets.
Right, the dipoles split. Now you have two dipoles.
So that's what reality happens. So it should.
So the electron becomes dipole because it gets a negative and a positive. It generates a positive when you cut it in half.
So the whole purpose is try to June probably already asked those questions before. The whole purpose is to prove electron is not a purely negative charge particle. It is actually dipolar magnetic particle.
So now there's magnetism becomes a much stronger force in our physics.
When you cut a magnet in half, you form two smaller magnets, and then they can recombine. Well, you got my answer.
So electrons act like dipole magnets when split.
Yes, and not only act dipole magnets. I know that's what you mean, and it is exactly. It has to be a dipole magnet. If it's truly negative charged particle, like a pole repel, it should never recombine itself, which means it cannot exist in the first place. If it cannot recombine this one, that means it cannot exist in first. So now, implication is tremendous. So if negative charge, the particle does not exist, which means the charge, we learned electric charge. Actually, I was first time confused. Physics is starting with a charge. I have no problem with magnets. But they said, we have a separate concept called charge. Threw me off, actually. But now I know the so-called charge is nothing more just magnetic polarity, just magnetic pole. So the positive charge represent the north pole, and negative charge represent south pole. And I checked the computer program, so they sometimes plot arrows on top of electrons, right? Exactly follow that convention. Yes. Well, any questions? Any other questions you come up?
So then, Dr. Wu, are you saying this is a purely a theoretical exercise because up to now physicists have not been able to split electrons in lab? I mean, I know they've broken down things into quarks and top quarks and bottom quarks and muons, but then and those are very small subatomic particles. Have they been able to split the electron yet, or is this is purely theoretical?
Electron is so small, based on the quantum theory, is a point particle, right?
Right. So this is all theoretical, what we're saying here.
It's a theoretical throughout.
Okay.
Any acceleration, Large Hadron Collider acceleration, break them, they try to breaking the nucleus, right?
Right.
Never ever. We do not have a testing capability to break an electron.
I see. Because even the nucleus is very large compared to a single electron.
Of course. Yes.
So it's a big deal to get to the neutron stage, but they can't yet hit the electron stage. Okay.
See, good conversation. I don't have to explain details, so that's why you cannot experimental demonstrate to split the electron. So we have to use a logic, right? So that's why I said, hey, the so-called negative charge particle based on the logical contradiction to Coulomb's law cannot exist. So what that implies not the electron does not exist. The so-called electric charge is misrepresented. It's a magnetic polarity. And what happens? I'm gonna come in. Penny, if you can keep going from that chart, I wanted to explain. Keep going down. Oh, okay. Okay. So this is an experiment. I wanted to demonstrate to Brian. I believe Penny. Did I show experiment last time? Probably showed with somebody else. Did I? I
well, you
try
can
to
go,
see
you can go ahead and
the
do it.
plasma ball. I try to demonstrate the plasma ball.
Yes. But we can do it again.
Okay, we can do it again. Okay, because this is very important. I just demonstrated logically, theoretically violated the Coulomb's law, physical law. Now I try to demonstrate in real life. Is there anybody see two particles, any particles, repel each other? I try to tell you, no one can see two particles repel each other for long. They eventually all combine them. So I try to demonstrate in all the physical evidence, electron attract, not repel.
Right.
So this is the demonstration I try to show them. Apparently, Brian did not see this one, so I'm gonna plug my plasma ball. See if I can demonstrate it. Because I think if I can convince Brian and everyone else already see this one, so I believe so we can convince other people. So
and these types of Tesla devices are very beloved in our community because people use them to actually help facilitate healing.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know the reason? Everything is magnetic. So magnetic healing is so called so make your system magnetic system.
We are magnetic
stronger.
as well. That's human.
Yes,
beings.
so that's why healing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wonderful. So I hope you can see.
Yeah, I'm going to pull you.
See filaments.
Yeah, you see them a little bit.
Let me just close a little bit.
We can see that it's on.
Oh, my major lights is off. I hope this is enough.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, yes, we can see.
Oh,
You can see.
cool.
You can see the
I love
filament. Yes, I love that too. You know, lots of people have questions about the lightning. I can explain lightning too. Okay, it's basically a similar phenomena. So if you can see the light filament, that means there are lots of electrons in there because of the so-called light generated by some type of motion of electrons, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So that means we have millions or even billions of electrons inside. So let's see. If electrons are negative charge means like pole repel, right? So do they really repel each other? So I'm putting my hands on. Did you see they all form a one
They all
line?
come together.
Okay. So now, so once I show my son, I said, well, if like charge repel, the millions electrons now they all form together. Why they form a line? You know, my son said, hey, there's a possibility, say, just like a hydrogen, water flow from hydrant. So what happens is all flow same direction and parallel. Okay. I thought that he has a merit. So then I said, what if I spread my fingers into 5 fingers, separate? If electron wanted to repel each other, so they should be separated to 5 lines, right?
Right.
Let's see what happens. Penny, are you able to see this one?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see? I spread my finger, five fingers separate, right?
Right.
It makes a ring.
Yeah, makes a ring. But the bottom, before they reach the ring on top, they still come together.
It goes to one, and then that goes to another finger and another till it makes a ring.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the effect that I try to show.
So you're saying this coherent stream doesn't make sense if the electrons are supposed to repel each other. Why are they forming a coherent?
They should form. Oh my goodness! I never use my 2 hands. Okay. You see, they almost form one line and then split on top.
And then split up. From they form one line from the origin point and then split up.
Yes, origin point. You know, so then my son used the word. So, he said, oh, they wanting to come together.
There's a coherency there. There's some kind of coherency that's not explained in classical physics. Why the electron beam wants to become coherent if like charge should repel.
You are exactly correct. I think you got it. You said exactly the things I expect people. So what that means? So these are not the negative charge particles repel each other. They are really magnetic particles. So let me demonstrate see what's happening inside here.
The magnetic field is being propagated via the electron stream.
That's right. Yeah. See, I appreciate your comments, because your comments and June's comments, and your comments help audience to understand better. So that's anytime you have a comment, I will let you audience understand that one. So now I try to say what's happening inside. This is the video on that chart, on the middle chart. So, but since I'm have this one in my hands.
Can you turn your light back on?
Oh.
You're sitting in the dark.
There we go. And there was light.
Oh, okay. Now we can see you.
I need people remind me, otherwise I'm gonna run wild. Okay, so I try to explain what's going on inside of this plasma globe. Okay, so if let's assuming every electron are not a negative charge but a magnetic particle, and what happens to magnetic particle? If their like pole approach each other, of course they attract, right? No problem. But if they are if they are opposite pole facing each other, they attract. But what happens if they are like pole facing each other? You know what happens when you close and then create a repel, and then you will find that one of them are rotating.
Right.
After rotating, they come back attract. So they may initially looks like a repel, but once after they flip, so that's due to the magnetic moment effect, right? When they rotate and then attract. So that's why in all the experiment, it's too surprise. In all the experiment, eventually you will see they are eventually attract together. So basically just demonstrate that as a so-called electron are not the so-called negative charge particle. No, just magnetic particle. And the difference with the magnetic particle is magnetic particle has both north and south pole as a one same entity.
So you're demonstrating that electrons are not monopole charged particles, but they're actually dipole contained particles that have a magnetic polarity, positive and negative to itself.
Yes, you use the called what is a monopole or mono charge, right? Or a single charge.
And you're saying that can't exist.
It cannot exist.
It's basically a way that current classical physics misinterprets a real phenomenon.
Correct.
You know how many.
Yeah, there was another thing is that because you had all of those magnetic balls, and what you showed is how basically how matter can come together in your theory more easily because they form, the balls will come together and form a larger ball, which because we do have matter and we do have cohesiveness. But then when you have friction going, you can, let's assume that they're round and you get them to where they're trying to get to that next pole and they're rolling, they're constantly, that would create the heat that we know, right? And then
that's where, wow, this is, so smart. Now you talking about where comes the heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what happens if when you rub your hand. Normally, it's a neutral particle. So neutral particle means that it was a magnetic particle. Somehow, as it interact with the buckle, come up to suppose like a north and the south together, looks like a neutral, right? However, you said when we rub my hands, you basically call the dislodge them,
Mm-hmm.
becomes magnetic particle. And when you moving magnetic particle on your hands, you know what happens? Create electricity in your body. That electricity is heat. Okay. I believe what is it? Fireman, right? They sliding down the pipe, the metal pipe. They have to use a glove or something hold. If you slide too hard, it burn your hands. So we call the friction. It's more than just a friction means you impact a smaller particle, but this is actually physics going on. It's electricity. When you're moving magnetic particle around the conducting, you create the electricity in your body. The whole body gonna affect. My goodness, I did not write this part in my book.
So Dr. Yu, just for the audience now, it sounds like by your redefining physics to be more electromagnetic and aligned with what we see in the real world, there are now going to be quantum effects, and that physics is going to help better inform now our understanding of things that heretofore classical physics couldn't explain. Healing at a distance, certain energy transmission, faster than light communications.
Yes.
That didn't exist in classical physics, the Einstein model, but the Bohr's model, this is more consistent with Bohr's model, and then maybe what you're bringing can bridge that gap further with Niels Bohr. So the debate between Einstein and Bohr's of spooky attraction at a distance.
Actually, I would say more aligned with the classical model, and the Bohr's model actually is the starting of the economic. He's the father of the quantum mechanics, right? So I will explain why Bohr's model cannot exist either. Okay. I will explain this one. You are right in the right line. So this one this theory can explain. You said the fast and speed of light and the phenomena. Many traditional classic physics and the modern physics cannot explain. Yeah. So the other experiment that demonstrated all the physical particles we observed are actually eventually attract each other. And I use this one to say, does this assumption violated a quantum mechanics basic experimental evidence? So quantum mechanics say, hey, we have 100, we have dozens of elementary particle, and if you count it as antiparticle or some kind of supersymmetry, you may made like over 500 elementary particles. Okay, so I said, does this magnetic particle violate any of the standard model particles? So this is the chart try to say, hey, in standard model, all particles have a magnetic moment. So that means they behave as a magnet. So from the behavior point of view, this only magnetic particle would all quantum particle would behave exactly like a magnet. So no observation or contradiction to standard model. Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. When they started observing these quirks and muons and all those things, they only, you might say, exist in microsecond intervals. They don't stay present. Well, it's so obvious what's going on there. They're just seeing the magnetic moment of polarity in observation, and then it flips or it moves or it conjugates into another form. So they're wave propagated magnetics. They're not particles.
This is a very important point. In quantum mechanics, even the so-called neutron,
right,
only lasting for 15 minutes. Okay, neutron and the proton, suppose the most stable particles form atoms, right? Atom is the most stable structure in measurement of the time, right? We call it atomic clock. But how can you have the most stable atomic clock? You have a neutron only exists in 15 minutes. And any other particles just show on that one. Just one or split of milliseconds or even less than billions of seconds. So you see, this particle cannot even last themselves. So this is very important. So that's why standard model is so weird. If you look through it, self-contradictions all over. Okay, so apparently everybody agree with.
Yeah,
Okay.
and not only that, they detect these things magnetically. So if they change polarity, they disappear.
Yes. You see, they all detect that they have to have a magnetic properties, right? So very good. Next page, if you can, and I will show what's the real observation, based on the space, exploration or daily life. So I searched to say, hey, where is the electron? People can see.
Exactly.
Three sources. One is called the inside the wire. We have electricity, right? We said the electricity is a flow of electron. But whenever you have electron, you cut them off, you never ever pick up any electron, any particles. Okay. You can never find the electron. Where's the electron? You cut it. You can make it a spark, right? Spark is impact, is a vibration and impact. Create a spark. Spark means a vibration of a magnetic particle create a light. So you can never pick up any electron particles. Okay. Another source is a cathode ray tube. That's the page, in the earlier, we're talking about, that's J.J. Thomson discovered electron from cathode ray tube. And he assuming the line showing the light is some kind of electron flow. And what I find is that line in the cathode ray tube is nothing flows. What happens is the gas, or called the gas inside of the tube, or sometimes they just use air molecules, very dilute air molecules. So those particles are being called ionized, so-called ionized, just like June said, you rubber your hands and suddenly warm, right? Basically, you dislodge the neutral kind of molecule normally in the neutral side. You dislodge the neutral particle to become a line of so-called charge particle, a line of magnetic line. It's
end to end. So they all line up end to end.
Yes, all lined up end to end, and then you use magnets to interact with them. You know what happens? It's a line of magnets, right? So that's that experiment. They use magnets to interact with that line.
And they were able to influence the line of the electrons by applying
bend up and whirl down. Yes,
by applying magnetic charge.
Yeah, it's coherent magnetic propagation.
And then that's where they're getting the right angle.
Yes, now you are talking
magnetic
about
fields.
You're talking about the right angle. You are talking about the Maxwell equation, right?
Because really, this is starting to get into like fields and conceptualizing it. Instead of electrons shooting out of a fire hose, it's almost like pinging a guitar string and letting the guitar string vibrate back and forth.
Yes, guitar string, and that vibrating back and forth create called a velocity vector.
Yes.
Which is 90 degree. That's what you try to say, right?
Whoa. Because even if it's going, the line goes forward, the guitar vibrates back and forth.
That's right. 90 degree to this called a locational vector.
Spirals.
Actually, you just explained.
Reminds me of the drums, Steve.
Steve.
You created the drums with a long. Can you explain briefly what those drums were? The drums that you created with the.
Actually, that's a good model that they use in physics to explain wave propagation. You'll get a big, long slinky and stretch it across the room.
Yeah.
And they'll wiggle one end, and the wave propagation will fly down the wire. in a sense, you have magnetic structures. One, because if you stimulate this magnetic structure and it's got polarity and you move it, it's going to affect coherent structures near itself, and they'll try to line and propagate. And once their magnetic structures are in a line, they will affect the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yes.
And the next one. And then you got a propagational wave, if you want to call it that. But they're in coherent vibration to each other. Yeah, they're like that.
Yeah. So basically, Steve tried to say, hey, so we talk about the magnet's vibration, right? But in order for us to see the light local at some area or disturbing, it has to propagate to your eye, interact with your eye in order you see the effect, right? So what make them propagate is the elastic medium.
Yes.
When you local vibration and the medium particle in the medium was one, just like I said, one neck to each other, combined, they coupled with magnetic force, and magnetic force form this gap is elastic force, is magnetic force. So that's why it propagates. That's where, so that we can see. Light always appear in one location, right? So why can we see the light? I'm gonna use this one, 9-volt battery, and a 9-volt light bulb. I think you can see this one, right?
Yeah.
So the light vibration is inside at the location of a light bulb, right? Inside of the fuse, light filament. So why can we see light? Is it because the local vibration, that's the particles, magnetic particles oscillation, and create the wave we call the ether, or we call the ion magnetic field. So that vibration created the magnetic field out of space vibrating. That magnetic field is elastic field, and made by magnetic coupling.
And the reason why this conceptualization is important, Dr. Yu, I think for our community, is because instead of seeing the world around us as full of empty space, we're really now conceptualizing it as various mediums of propagation. And instead of empty space, if you have fields for energy to propagate along, now that is starting to tie more into the quantum physics and action at a distance. All these things become possible that in classical physics are not.
Cannot explain. So that's what is called the quantum fluctuation or quantum field theory. They know something in the medium. Yes. Okay.
So unfortunately, guys, we are running out of time. So I'm going to ask everybody where they can find you. This was excellent. And we will pick up at this. And everybody remember, we are on slide 10. These are scientific lessons and pontifications. Can you tell people, Dr. Yu, where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you? And I also want to mention, if you have any questions for Dr. Yu, feel free to send them to me on X. We're also on Rumble. You can also send them to Brian. He's broadcasting on his Facebook page. You can also send them to me, and my phone number is 619-779-9771. And Dr. Yu, where can they get in touch with you?
If you have an X account, so you type my X name, that's called @real_Dr.Yu. That's @real DRYU @real_Dr.Yu. If you type all the videos associated with me is all in that thread, so you should be able to find all of them.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Steven Sanchez, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm just using my email, and it's the number 1, and it's Golden Tiger, one word, @gmail.com.
Excellent. And Brian Tseng, tell us a little bit about where people can find you, especially on Facebook and Messenger. Are you also on X in your shows?
I'm not really on X. I'm mostly on Facebook, and now I'm starting to improve my Instagram presence. Because the name of the game, for full disclosure, is to reach as many people as we can, especially those who want to listen. I can be found on Facebook. It's Brian Tseng, the Solar Bee. Just add my nickname. And then in addition to being here on Agent X11, I've kind of wound down my show presence until I relocate all of us in the studio to Sedona, Arizona. So in the meantime, I'm still in a bit of a holding pattern, as Stephen and you know, but we're working on it as we unwrestle money from the banks.
So if you want to get in touch with me, I will get in touch with Brian Tseng. And again, my phone number is 619-779-9771. If you want to get in touch with anyone that is on this panel, I promise you, I will ensure that the message gets delivered. Joan Renee, how can people find you?
Well, you can find me here on Agent X11, and I'm looking forward to the next one because I knew what I was going to say was going to put you way far ahead of where you were. So I've got more questions. And you can find me here on Agent X11. You can find me on the Awake Nation Tuesdays and Thursdays, Trauma Triage on Wednesdays, and on X you can find me at Joan Renee 27.
And then you can also find me on the Awake Nation. That's Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's Eastern time. And then you can also find Joan with me wherever I am on Agent X11. And we have tomorrow we're going to have 4 shows. I'm going to have 4 shows. So actually 5. So it'll be the Awake Nation. And then after the Awake Nation, we have Skip Press. And Skip Press is America's Golden Eon, AGE, wherein he talks about the presidents and their relationship to our current administration. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about Jimmy Carter. And then I also have two other shows, but I want to focus also on a third show that I'm going to be having, and that's with Pastor Casper McLeod. It's called Spiritual Encounters, and we're going to be having Stuart Rhodes on there. He's actually on the road at one of the truth conventions that he plays at as well. So that's Pastor Casper McLeod, and that's Spiritual Encounters. So we'll be posting that forthwith. Unfortunately, we are out of time right now. Please join us again. Also, please like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe to the Agent X11 channel, as well as the Awake Nation on the David Zubin channel. And if you'd like to support our endeavors, you can always PayPal me at Shepherd, SHEPARD, entertainment@gmail.com. Thank you so very much. And we're out of time, so we are out of here. Shepherd out.
Solar be out.
Renee out.
Stephen out.
Dr. You out.
Goodbye for today from Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist. We post new episodes daily. Check out our true crime episodes Wednesdays and Fridays. Please watch our main show, David Zubrick's Awake Nation, on the David Zubrick channel on Rumble. We are live Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern.